I am Devie Mohan. I am the CEO and co-founder of BNP, the fintech research company that has been working on this particular topic. We produce reports on a wide variety of topics, but I think information governance as a topic has been really, really unique in that we've taken that topic to kind of analyze and understand what would be the challenges faced in this space, and then to look at what could be happening next. So it's a new topic for us, and it's been quite exciting, to be honest, to do this research. And as I'm sure you're aware, RegTech as an industry has grown tremendously in the last few years. We have seen RegTech as a space offering solutions to several complex problems that banks and large financial institutions have had to deal with. From KYC to the use of AI and machine learning to solve compliance issues, to support reporting or taxation, RegTech has offered solutions to complex situations emerging in these large financial institutions. Now, the industry itself, the financial services industry, is clearly going through a time of tremendous change. The way they interact with supervisors have changed. The way they deal with regulatory situations have changed. The sheer number of regulations to deal with, including those around privacy, security, customer consent, they've all changed significantly in the last few years. And with all this in mind, me and the research team at BNP have looked at these emerging complexities of information governance and looked at how RegTech can support the evolution and the complexities. One thing we need to remember, though, is that now, for most financial services providers, the most valuable asset is no more its hundreds of products and services. It's actually data. The data from customers, partners, regulatory bodies. And this data, when transformed into information, is the core business of most financial institutions today. So now everyone is trying to find coherent and compliant ways to capture, control, manage, monetize, and govern their information assets. So this is what we have looked at as a context for this report. And moving on to the next slide, we've actually looked at how data flows through large financial institutions in order to understand the complexities. We looked at we tried to come up with a very simplistic view, to be honest, on how this process looks today and what drives the challenges for each of these steps that you see on the screen. So there's a whole compliance process in place. For example, when data comes in from the external world, it could be the customer, it could be the partners, an authentication channel, or marketing or product channel into the large financial institutions, be it a bank, an insurance firm, investment management firm, etc. Now, once this data comes in, various data protection and privacy legislation start to kick in. Now, firms need to proactively and clearly communicate the context of data processing to customers now and obtain clear consent for any type of data processing that they go through. So customers also have the right to revoke their consent. So it adds to the complexity of the whole process. And the next step is the data retention and data disposal as needed. And this is one of the hardest parts of the process because the institutions need to find a way to defensively delete information when it has served a purpose or when customers ask them to. And they need to know when to keep, when to delete, and how long to keep for. And the next step is when the data set up, the controls have to be set up in order to deal with the country-based regulations that the bank or the financial institution is in. The trend for data localization means that multi-jurisdictional organizations now have to find a way to consolidate their data at a global level, again adding to the challenges. And finally, the data goes out from the financial institution into the hands of a customer, a partner, or a third party who uses the bank's open APIs, for example. So all of this opens up new ways of compliance and data privacy risks for both customers and for the institution. Now moving on. So So how we approached this research project and this report is that we formed a set of questions or hypotheses that we thought as Bernmark and from the industry feedback were critical questions to answer in the field of information governance. So these are some of the questions we started off with in terms of the research. And we did multiple ways of collecting this information into our research. So as you can see, we looked at, we collected all of the regulations as much as possible from the data privacy, protection, and information and data world. And secondly, we did a survey of 10 global large financial institutions from 7 countries, and then we interviewed their key roles or the people who hold key responsibilities for records and data management in terms of some of these challenges and questions that we had identified. And finally, while all this is happening, we also did a lot of analysis on the data localization policies, on the data protection legislation being created in various countries, and of course the current regulatory system. So we used all of these processes to come up with the conclusions that you will find in the report when you do get it, without revealing too much at this moment. And we, after all of this analysis that we did, we came up with 6 key complexities that came about from the challenges that we saw in the market. So these challenges came from the supervisors themselves, from the financial institutions, from legacy systems in place, from the lack of technological know-how within banks. So all of these contributed to the complexities that we have talked about in the report. So when you see the report, you will find that we have gone in depth into each of these complexities and analyzed them and shown you how this challenge is impacting the way financial institutions are thinking today. Now, I think this is the best part of the report, to be honest, and the survey that we did with the large financial institutions gave us so much insight into what banks are thinking and what financial institutions are thinking in terms of their priorities and the plans for 2019 and beyond in terms of investing in information governance. So we did this survey with 10 large global financial institutions, including Barclays, Deutsche Bank, BNP Paribas, Scotiabank, Raiffeisen, etc., about their information governance strategies. Now, we were really pleased, actually, that the banks were willing to share some of their thoughts openly with us and also gave us notes on their short-term and long-term priorities. And we discussed both the strategic view of some of their priorities as well as tactical elements they're working on today. And as can be expected with any large company, a lot of the priorities are on managing budgets. And managing a budget effectively, adding more budget for technology, but both short-term and long-term priorities were very much around managing the budgets and resources. And also 80% of people we surveyed said that automation is a clear priority for them, be it RPA or machine learning or natural language processing. Almost all of these banks, 80% of them, felt that automation was an area they would love to invest more in, and of course, clearly being tied to cost and resource efficiencies that can be achieved with these. And we also asked their inputs on penalties and fines, dealing with those, dealing with legacy systems, heightened sense of privacy, etc.